Hey, what's up, Reefers? Welcome to another tank update of the 45-gallon cube tank. So let's get right down to it. The biggest changes from last time is pretty much the position of the rose bulb anemone split. So from my last video, you see that the split was a little bit small and is kind of working its way around the major rock structure to find its location. But after moving around the rockwork, it decided that where it started out was the best spot. So it seems to have kind of settled right underneath the mother colony. And it really grew in size, so it's really tough to even tell which one is the mother colony and which one is the split. And the interesting thing is that what I assume to be the mother colony or the original is bubbling up. And why a bubble tip anemone bubble up is still a pretty big mystery at the moment. I have actually suggested BLS TV to use it as one of his topic, and they say it's a great idea, so maybe they can kind of do a little myth buster on what makes a bubble anemone bubble. So I really like the new location, or the original location that the split took on. It kind of created a stream of rose bulb anemone, which is nice. I like it, and I just hope that it'll stay there. And obviously the female clown really likes it as well. So in my last video, I talked about the possibility of adding SPS, a little bit more SPS to this tank. And actually, I talk about a lot of things, and I'll go through that. One of them is possibly adding SPS to the 45-gallon cube tank, and I think it's like a low-hanging fruit. So I went ahead and over the weekend, if you saw my last video, check out some of the great local fish stores in Manassas, Virginia. Me and two friends swung by. Let's see, where did we go? We went to Incredible Corals and Artfully Critic first, and then we went to Blue Ribbon Koi, and then we went to Reef Escapes. Now, I've never been to Incredible Corals and Reef Escape, so it was my first time, and they're really impressive. They have some really nice fish stores in Manassas, Virginia. And while I was at Reef Escape, let me zoom in a little bit, I was able to find a Pink Birdnest right there. So the Pink Birdnest is considered one of the easier SPS coral to keep. They grow really fast, but at the same time, if something is wrong with your water, they are usually the first to go, and they go fast as well, as fast as they grow. At least that's their reputation. But because this kind of considered a beginner SPS and a fast grower, I figure it's kind of like the perfect candidate for me, a newbie SPS keeper. So I was able to pick up a really nice frag like that for $10. The price in Virginia fish storage is ridiculous, but I picked up that frag for $10, and I started it out on the sandbed 3 days ago, and now I've kind of moved it up a little bit. It's still in the shade. It's in the shade of frog spawn, but I figure I'll slowly adapt it to the light. Now, the interesting thing about bird's nests is that apparently there are a lot of, even though they all look kind of similar, they all have different preference in terms of like lighting. Some people say that the green ones, they prefer higher light, while the pink one, the one I have, prefer like medium light to even low lights. And then they have like different morphs, like the bird of paradise, etc. That's a little bit fancier. And they all have different requirements. And even within the same color morph, some of the colony have different requirements as well. So I'm just trying to, well, first goal was to kind of acclimate this frag to my tank, and I'll try it out different depth to see where it prefers. And I was actually struggling to find a place to put it because this frag came on a flat frag plug, which is kind of odd. It does not have that little stick at the end where I can kind of jam it into a hole. And I was actually having trouble finding a flat spot in my tank to kind of just put the frag. So 3 days ago it was okay, just kind of sitting on the sandbed doing its own thing. Yesterday when I tried to move it, I tried some spot like a little bit lower on the rock structure, but I just couldn't get into balance because it kind of hangs off on one side. And eventually I kind of settled on it. I was just kind of wedging it in a little bit. It was a little bit more shaded than I like, but that will do for now. I plan to try moving it out into the light in another couple of days after it's adjusted to the shaded light. So in terms of coral addition, that was it. I kind of held myself back to keep myself from getting more things because the tank is packed. And I tried to get a video of Reef Escape because they have some really interesting stuff, really interesting setup. But unfortunately, the owner was not there, so we were not able to ask for permission. So I guess in the future I'll swing back again and hopefully catch the owner at the store, because it is the store really does have a different vibe compared to the other fish store, and they do have some interesting setups. And it has been a couple weeks since I've switched over to RBTA water and started running a media reactor with GFO and carbon. And it has also been a few weeks since I have been running 100 micron filter stock on and off. And it really helped with the tank stability and how clean it is. You'll notice on the sand bed right now it's really clean compared to what you see in my older videos where I was fighting dino and cyanobacteria issues. The sand bed is always in shades of red or green, but now it's a lot cleaner. So I think that chapter may be behind the tank. I sure hope so. That was it was bad. And with that, the coral seems a lot happier. You see how everything's open now, and they open a lot larger. And the Space Invader Pagniva, I don't know, I'll stop trying to pronounce it, but that green thing in the middle where the green clown goby is perching on, it's growing fast. And the Zoa seems to be opening larger and healthier as well, except for the dragon eyes. They don't seem to be happy in this spot. Maybe it's right next to the glass, so the flow is hitting it too directly. It used to be a little bit further back here, but since I got the gold/orange hammer, I had to move it back, move it up front. So I may move these guys to somewhere with a less direct flow. But yeah, take a look at how full the Zoa's open now. They kind of flattens out. It used to still stay within diameter of the frag plug, so it's almost like a little hemispheres. But right now they kind of like flattened out and started spreading onto the rock, especially the Sunny D, which I really like. I really like this colony in the back too. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's just been doing well. And I'm also really happy to report that so far the corals are playing well together. You see some of the Zoas kind of closing up a little bit because the hammer is touching it, but I feel like it's not from being stung. It's more like just the irritation of being rubbed up against, and nobody likes that, right? And the elegance seems to be doing okay, no issue. Oh, another thing I want to show you guys is check this out. This green Montiporas, I'm not sure exactly what type it is, but it was some kind of like encrusting Montipora. It really took off ever since I started dosing kelp. Or maybe it's okay, fine. Correction. It started taking off when I fixed up my sump. Water's cleaner now. It started growing a little bit, but it really exploded after I started adding kelp to my top off water, and it started encrusting onto the rock, which is awesome. And the Redactus actually grew a little bit larger. It's not splitting because they're really slow growing, but it definitely took over that piece of rock now. Before it was not like that. I'll say it probably almost doubled in size in the last month and a half. I'll have to look back at the older video to double check. But yeah, it definitely grew. And the frog spawn is just going nuts. It's already kind of shading the kryptonite candy cane, and I'm really afraid of stinging some of them. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I think it's actually stinging those fall polyps. See how the polyp is already kind of like half gone, so that may be gone. So I really need to either move the candy cane or just frag up the frog spawn. Really happy to report the Rickodia that was hating my tank for a long time seems to be recovering, at least the yellow/orange spotted ones. They're really expanding back again. But I'm still sad that the blue and orange is just not doing well. I'm not sure what's going on. So that, I love Ricodias. I really want to solve this and see what's going on. Another thing that is kind of sad is that the Gonipora, the pink Gonipora, just not doing well. I mean, it's not dying, it's not receding per se, at least not that I can see, but it's not extending at all. When I first got it, all the polyp extends out like a flower pot that it should be, but then it got stung by, what did it get stung by? It fell into the Riccardia, now that I think about it. Yeah, it fell into the Riccardia face first, and it did not recover since. From time to time, I'll see that the polyp extends slightly, but it was never fully extended like it used to. So we'll see what's going on. And it had been like that for a couple weeks, so maybe it's also the new location that it does not like. So I may move it around a little bit. Moving forward, we see the Monipora caps. It was kind of shaky for a while because I did not epoxy or glue down this chunk onto the rock, thinking down the road I may want to move it. So just kind of perching there, and it was kind of rocking in the currents once in a while. But in the last week and a half, it seems to kind of like locked into a position, and it has not moved since. And probably due to that stability, I see the edges started growing, especially like this sides and back here. They started like curl upwards, like it's responding to this new location now. It's actually reaching up towards the light, which is awesome. Yeah, it got really good growth. And that SPS in the back, I have no idea what it is. I picked it up when I picked up the rose bulb tip anemone from the seller. It's starting to encrust onto the rock, so that is a good sign. It's a really bright and nice piece. And continuing the growth trend, look at this torch. So you guys like the torch in that position? At first it's temporary, but some of you mentioned that it actually looks really natural in that spot. So I was like, okay, alright, you guys are right. It actually looks pretty good. When viewed from the front, it looks pretty natural. So I just left it there. And it seems to like it. All the tentacle extended and is waving in the water. And the color's nice. And it's keeping the green star polyp in check up there. And speaking of green star polyp, it is really encroaching on the Gorgonian's base. It's but it is what it is. I think even if the green star polyp started overtaking the base of the Gorgonian, it will still live. So that should be okay. If you guys don't think it's okay, let me know. I'll probably need to frag back the green star polyp then. But yes, I'm keeping an eye out on the green star polyp to make sure it does not extend down towards this SPS. That is actually a separate piece of rock. So if anything, I just remove that rock. Oh, check out a pistol shrimp. Yeah. One thing I noticed is that something is cutting my Yasha Goby's top fin. One day they'll be super long, super nice, and then next day it'll be super short like this. So something is nipping it, or they're kind of ripping it somewhere. And it's not just on one guy. Both of them are like that. Let me see if we can find the other guy. Usually the other guy is hanging out here. Oh, the other guy's top fin, or top ray is kind of growing back, so that's good. But one day they just appear with like a short stub, like the other guy, so don't know what's going on. And you may notice that sometimes one of them is here now, the other one is up front, but that's what they do. Sometimes they show up together in front of a cave, sometimes they just kind of like hang out at different caves. In the front, we see Elvis, the Scarlet Hermit, just kind of picking through the sand, trying to pick up some food. So yeah, I mean, everything in the tank is good so far. No complaints, no major catastrophe, thank goodness. The female clown is still bullying the male clown, so I'm still questioning whether to pair or not. The blue tank still just doing his own thing, ignoring the female clown when she tries to push him away, just like, you know, whatever. And yeah, and so far the green clown goby seems to have calmed down a lot for whatever reason. It's not really bothering corals anymore. So, I mean, I still have the fish trap here ready to go, but I don't know. I mean, at this point, if the green clown goby is not really bothering corals, I don't really need to pull him out. And the blue tang still seems to be able to hang in there for a little bit before I have to pull him out. So I guess the fish trap is gonna sit there for a little bit before I put it to use. Yeah. Alright, so well, since we're here, let's check out the sump area as well. I have not siphoned the sump in a long time, but it still looks pretty clean, so I figure it's okay. I don't need to really siphon it. And the cool thing is that the Cheeto algae grew a lot. It exploded. Last Monday, I pulled out, basically, it was enough to cover the entire surface area of the refugium, and it was about yay thick. So it was like a cake. I just poured it out. It was ridiculous. I was like, whoa, I've never seen growth like this. So whether it's a nutrient in the water or like some of you guys say the iron that the GFO introduces that spark the growth, is fantastic because those are all nutrient that's being pulled out in the tank. And the skimmer, the skimmer's doing well, except it's bubbling, but it's not really pulling anything out anymore because I think maybe it pulled out everything it could. So that's that. One more interesting discovery. I'm not sure if you guys can see. Actually, yeah, you guys can see this. You see all these little guys? I kind of talked about it in the past, but these keyhole limpets, they hitchhiker from my tank from God knows where, and they used to be tiny, but now they're growing larger in size, and they're great hitchhikers. They're essentially snails in half shells. Ninja turtle. But they eat algae, and they're great. They're really hard to remove from the surface of where the glass or acrylic in this case. So people do not recommend removing them because you may pull the shell off the body before you pull them off the surface. But they're great hitchhikers to have, and I got a bunch of these guys. When I was cleaning a skimmer, there were a bunch of those guys inside the skimmer as well. So it's good to know. It's good to have in the tank. And over the weekend, I also picked up 4 additional trochus snails. I think I only got 2 or 3 in the tank now, so I decided to add a little bit. So they're in there somewhere. But yeah, so this is a pretty long-winded update. I'm sorry, every single time I start talking about the aquarium, I just keep going and going. Yeah. So I'm really happy at where things are right now. And over the weekend, obviously, I swung by Artfully Acrylic with the purpose of checking out their drop-off tank, right? And of course to see what kind of corals they have in stock. And the drop-off tank looks really good. So I'm kind of debating. So right now I'm just kind of like brainstorming right now. Definitely want to upgrade it to a larger size tank. Most likely I'll just get a used 120 or so tank because the price is affordable, everything is kind of set up and it's a standard size. And I'm toying with the idea of picking up a additional, maybe a 17-gallon drop-off tank for frogfish, or I'll just set up the larger tank first and then migrate most of the stuff from this tank to that 120-gallon tank and just keep the frogfish in a 40-gallon. Although a 40-gallon tank with just one frogfish may not be too exciting to look at versus like a 17-gallon, which may be a little bit more interesting, more species-centered. But we will see. I mean, just kind of brainstorming right now and thinking out loud. Alright guys, so I will end the really long-winded tank update here. If you have any question, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to answer it. If I cannot, I'm sure other reefers will. And I'm trying out some stuff in Premiere, what I used to edit my video, and just trying different things on YouTube. I've been reading up on it, and it's interesting. It's interesting because I am in design, so this is I can really apply my skill to doing some more interesting stuff on YouTube. Video editing is new to me, but in terms of graphic design, I can still do some basic stuff. So you may see some strange things in the next few videos as I experiment with different functionalities and style. Alright guys, well, hope you guys enjoyed this update, and I will talk to you guys later. See ya!